thinking to myself, why do some minds learn faster? What makes you more intelligent? I was really questioning that. I came across something that I understood about myself a couple of years ago. Up until that moment, I didn't realize that I was doing that, the way I was thinking, the way my mind was wired. I hadn't understood it up until a couple of years ago. Now, I'm going to start with an analogy because it's very easy to explain it with an analogy instead of trying to jump straight into explaining my own mind, which is a very chaotic mind. So let's just start with this analogy. Imagine you have a big warehouse, and within the warehouse there is shelves that run across the whole warehouse. When you're born, that warehouse is pretty empty. You have not filled it up with many things, and as you're growing up and aging, you will start accumulating certain things throughout your life, knowledge and information, and you're going to start storing it onto these shelves. Now, all of these shelves are going to be niched down in their own paths. For example, you might have learned how to use a phone. You know, it's a strange thought to have, because we're very familiar with our phones. We didn't even think of how do we actually even learn how to use this phone. We would have learned it a while back, but you got to think about a child right now learning how to use a phone. Well, that piece of information that is learning, it's actually storing it on the shelf somewhere that's allocated to do with technology. Now, as you're aging, you might have, interest in sports, or maybe you learned certain things and you accumulated all of your shelves with a bunch of information. Now, that's the information that are on the shelves is who you are. You've become the identity of this warehouse. And if the warehouse somebody tried to access and speak to, they could see in a conversation an access of this warehouse, what the warehouse has, how much knowledge it has of this, how much knowledge it has of this. It will have that database stored within this warehouse, which is you. It's your identity, it's yourself. Now, if you travel your life defending that to the core and not allowing any new information to be shelved, potentially amend an information where you find out that a particular thought that you had shelved or experienced might actually not be fit now to be sitting on your shelf actively. You might have it stored somewhere in a separate section where it's not an active usage of that thought. And how would you decide to shelve an idea? Well, when I figured in my own brain how I actually think, my curiosity exploded. I was curious more about the world, about many other things, and I became more interested with myself. Now, how does that work for me, for my own warehouse and shelving? The way I think of my own storage in my own brain, I am 26 years old and I've accumulated knowledge in my 26 years, limited time. I've accumulated a decent amount of knowledge. And how I see that knowledge is everything that I believe in and I stand by is the best thing I knew how to come up with from the information that I had presented to me. So throughout my childhood, throughout my experiences, different jobs, relationships, friends, could be in science. Maybe I have a certain belief to do with science, and that belief had been formed from my vast knowledge of many other things, and I've created this belief on how something works, like an atom, let's say, as an example. What I've realized that I do is I leave room to amend it. Now, I will go to the core and defend my belief. I will go to the end, but I defend it with logic. If somebody can be in front of me and challenge my idea in how an atom works, let's say, this is a random example, but if they challenge my idea, and logically we can both have a discussion, a non-emotional discussion that's led by logic and facts and linked with pattern recognition, because you can kind of gather the image for what you're looking for across different fields in life. You can kind of take certain traits of different things and kind of figure out what a thing could be or look like, and that comes down to the mutual conversation with that person that's challenging your thought, your belief in that aspect. Now, interesting thing that I do is, if my thought gets challenged and defeated with logic and pattern, then I adopt that better idea of the other person in my shelf and I run with it as the best idea that I knew how to come up with. So essentially, I've allowed my brain to self-destruct its information based on checking it. So somebody has to check it before that clearing and renewing happens. Now, something interesting that happens when you think like this, you will have a thought challenged in science and about atoms, let's say, but something interesting is going to happen when you detach yourself from the conversation with that person and you go within your own mind, in your own time. You start surfing your warehouse and you're like, oh, interesting, because that new thing that was better idea than your previous idea has applications across many niches now that is kind of like a brand new information. So your old shelved information that you had accumulated all of a sudden becomes this brand new thing, because the possibilities are endless with this new information that you just accumulated. So what that starts creating is reinventing everything. So every time something, I guess, pretty major gets challenged into my life and I clearly see, I'm like, what, I'm actually incorrect, or not incorrect, somebody better has a better idea than me in that certain topic. I adopt it, and in my own time I start applying it to my other niches. Maybe it's to do with family. How does that thing link up and have some similarities across different things of my life? Maybe to do with sports. Maybe you start finding these new things and they become so exciting and depressing at the same time, because you have to destroy yourself, your old self, and reinvent yourself based on the new information. And if you do that enough times, there's this exponential growth that you experience of weeks feel like you've gone through months worth of growth. And it kind of happens, it's like a spiral effect. After you get tested, and then you go think about your own information and you figure out a new pattern, then that new information now becomes new for the whole thing again. And it's this multiplying of knowledge and information that you keep, I guess, cross-referencing and creating different variables. So if you had 10 pieces of information in your warehouse, and then somebody introduced of one of the 10 pieces a better piece, and then you took that piece and you started cross-referencing it with the other pieces, and those cross-references create a unique pattern based on what you're cross-referencing it within your 10 products, that now new variable tests your warehouse again, and it's this multiplying of information that you go through and you experience. Now, this is a very depressive state that you go through, because you have to, you're humbled. You're very humbled by how much you knew, how much you didn't know. It's a scary feeling, because your brain is stretching, evolving, growing, and it's a foreign thing. It's like when you go to the gym, your muscles are not used to lifting a lot of weights, and as you go each time you start tearing your muscles, and every time they heal they get a little bigger and a little stronger, and next time they're not so, it's not so foreign when they're doing a certain exercise. It's kind of the same thing. Every time you go through your brain with these little bursts and you stretch your horizon that you thought it was the limit of your knowledge, you stretch it. It feels so uncomfortable. It feels like you're shedding your skin. That is the way I think, the way my brain works, and I think it applies to a lot of people out there, because we could all learn more, and we could all see things maybe that people, you might look at a person and think to yourself, what is he going to teach me? And that's the ego speaking. But you just never know. A piece of information from a random person that to do with something small could be a crucial piece within your warehouse that's going to absolutely take you on a roller coaster of emotions, and take you on a mountainous journey through your emotions and thoughts, that you will, at the end of it, be a different person. So always stay humble, always look at your ego and don't inject it too much. We all have egos, but sometimes it's best to just have a critical mind, a logical mind, and a mind that's built on patterns and cross-referencing. And then allowing that to be challenged is the key, and making sure that you actually are allowing it, not just saying you're allowing it, because that does come across to the person that's maybe challenging you. It comes across as you're just not letting go of your own idea and you're going all the way with it and you're not willing to change. I would say have an open mind. And this applies to many things, to politics, to science, to religion, to anything we can think of in your life. Something that you're so certain on that you'll never budge on, I would say to you, think about it. Let it be challenged and allow the challenge to go through. Don't fight it. See if there's a better idea. And if there is, adopt it, and you'll be surprised how quickly your brain, it's like an AI machine. It's a self-learning machine. It just keeps multiplying with knowledge and accumulates a bunch of information. How quickly you will change, and after that experience a bit of a downtime with your emotions. That's all I wanted to talk about today. It's more just a self-reflection of my own mind, and in sharing so, hopefully this helped one person out there that is going through something similar or is discovering themselves, or if you know more and you want to share, I'm happy to have my thoughts challenged. I'm always open to a challenge. That's my personality. Stay tuned until the next video.